Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Carrow Road, Norwich City's home campaign in the Championship.
Can we hear you, Tom?
So hopefully you can all hear me. Testing. 1, 2, 3. We should be on. The connection looks a little bit more stable as well than Tuesday night. So we've ironed out any gremlins in the system, thankfully, for the first league game. We're always a bit rusty at the start of the season, as were Norwich City last week, and they'll be hoping to iron out a lot of those issues today here against Blackburn Rovers. We are 2 minutes away from the team news being announced. We've got a thumbs up from Nick, so I'm happy with that. That means we're good to go. Paddy, it's a beautiful day at Carrow Road. You maybe can't see it because we're tucked in the back of the City stand in the shade, but the pitch, the sun is beating off it. It's going to be an interesting afternoon for Norwich City, isn't it?
Feels while still in the getting to know you phase for everybody concerned. It feels like it could be one of those that just injects some early momentum in terms of the league. Because if you get off to a winning start here against, I know their Swanwich absence now doesn't go in their favour, but they've started the season very well, scored a lot of goals. And if Norwich get the job done today, and we see a little bit more of what we saw midweek against Stevenage in terms of style of play, just adds to the positivity and the sense that things are bubbling, and and rather than post Oxford, well, where do we go from here? I can't really see any green shoots at the moment. So, yeah, I think it's not in the grand scheme of things, is it essential, but good performance, 3 points, on we go. Yeah,
that would be nice, wouldn't it? See some happy faces here at about 5 to 5 this afternoon, and it would certainly feel important for Johannes Hoftorp in terms of his personal pursuit of success here at Carrow Road. As we've said, it is going to be a little bit of a work in progress, and I'm sure there'll be lots of question marks around that defensive setup, and it's going to be really interesting to see the decisions that are made or maybe aren't made when the team news drops in a minute's time. Of course, there's been a lot of focus on Grant Hanley and Shane Duffy in particular. Jakob Sørensen, who came off the bench, not available. Jose Cordoba is here. We've seen him with the team, but probably, I think you asked him this on Thursday, probably not fit and available to start. And in fact, I have the team news here, and the big news is that Gabe Forsyth starts for Norwich City this afternoon. Norwich City line up like this: Gunning goal, Stacey, Duffy, Doyle and Chris Sene as the back four, Nunez, McLean and Forson as a midfield three. A first start for 18-year-old Gabe Forsyth, Borja Sainz on the other side, with Josh Sargent leading the line. That's a really big call for Gabe Forsyth, but looked good against Stevenage, looked good in pre-season, signed a new contract this week, rewarded for that. The subs bench for Norwich City: George Long, Grant Hanley, Jose Cordoba, Kellen Fisher, Brad Hills, Liam Gibbs, Onel Hernandez, Elliot Miles, fresh from scoring a double for the 21s last night, and Abu Kamara. So, yeah, let's go straight to that, Paddy, then. Even though a lot of the focus has been on the back four, let's start with Gabe Forsyth. The start for him today, and that's probably thoroughly deserved based off everything we've seen in pre-season and in what was a really good cameo on Tuesday night as well.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Gibbs makes way, doesn't he, from Oxford, so it tells you everything about Torop, what he's about, and giving young players opportunities, but then they need to take them. And maybe Gibbs didn't necessarily do that, wasn't alone at Oxford. What a week that man's having now, 18 years of age, new contract in his back pocket, and a first senior start after making his senior debut at Oxford. So he must be loving life. And he probably does merit it in terms of his coming. He's been fearless in and around the group. He's not a young player who's, you get the sense from a distance observing him all through pre-season, who's a bit wide-eyed and I don't know if I belong here. Now, he seems to carry himself body language-wise that he feels he belongs, and certainly his manager thinks he does, and really interested to see how that trio works in midfield today. Yeah, and obviously a lot of the other focus was on the defensive setup, and just to run through that for you, there's a couple of changes in there, isn't there? Stacey, Duffy, Doyle and Chris Sene, a first Norwich City start, and a debut for him this afternoon against obviously the club that he spent last season on loan at as well. So it's a little bit of a reshuffle, probably a little bit more natural, it feels, in terms of having two left-footers actually in the defence as opposed to last week. Yeah, we can see how well that translates, but that is the team sheet in full. I think the light might be doing it a disservice, but if not, then we see it. There we go. You see a little bit of a few of the names there for any of those that are interested, and that is how Norwich line up with their sub-bench as well, which includes new signing Jose Cordoba, as we thought it might. So there you go. Those are the respective team sheets. And Paddy, let's get on to that defence then, because I think it was probably the area that's created a lot of discussion in the last week or so, since obviously what happened and what unfolded at the Kassam Stadium
Callum Doyle as a left-sided centre-back, Crescene as a left-back. That feels a lot more attuned to perhaps what Johannes Otter wants to achieve in terms of distribution, and hopefully probably a little bit more balance in there as well.
Well, Doyle's the one for me. I mean, it was painfully obvious at the Kissam. There was a period in the first half where it was almost pleading with Duffy and Hanley to get the ball out to him. He was offering that width in a left-back role. But, I obviously first came across him when he was on loan at Cov 2 seasons ago, and he's a better centre-back than a left-back. There's absolutely no doubt. I think pace-wise, he would get isolated for me defensively in the left-back position, going the other way. Not on the ball, very comfortable. But even Johannes, why were you so keen to bring him in? What was the one thing? And he said his passing range, his passing ability. Right, so in this system, your centre-backs are triggering a lot of the attacks with the three in front. Getting a player there who's very comfortable on the ball. Let's be brutally honest, Duffy and Hanley on the ball, it's a bit panic stations. And we saw that again at Oxford. So, yeah, for me, he has to play centre-back. And as a result, it was who plays alongside him, given Cordova isn't probably fit to start the game today. It's great to see him on the bench. I didn't think Callum Fisher really pushed his claims for me to be involved from the start today. Midweek Stevenage, he looked a little bit defensively suspect. So if that's the case, Crescene is fit. He's an established left back. Again, a bit like Forsyth, it's another young player. Doesn't have a huge backstory in terms of first team minutes, but that's why they brought him to the club, because they believe he's for the here and now, but he's also for the future. So take your opportunity today, and then, before very, very long, Ben Crescene could be Norwich's first choice left back.
Yeah, indeed. And as you map out, Paddy, a really good opportunity. Obviously, missed last week. It was a slight issue with his back, wasn't it, from memory? A slight issue. So, really interested to see how he slots into that left back role. That midfield now beginning to feel a bit set, isn't it, in terms of what he wants. Nunez, McLean, and obviously the very impressive Amankwa Forson in his opening 2 games, his first start for Norwich City in the Championship this afternoon. And again, if they can achieve some of what we saw on Tuesday night against Stevenage with that control, that creativity, Nunez and Forson feels like a really exciting, creative midfield pairing.
Yeah, I mean, if they can get that, let's say the balance element of that, because and we saw it here Tuesday night, Forson, first thought, forward, progressive, played the ball in for Science for the first goal. He was also in the box, trying to get a shot away, composure, turned out, passed it to Onel for the third or fourth goal, I forget, fourth goal, I think. So his first thought is progressive and getting forward. We know how good a passer Nunez is. So naturally, his game is more tilted towards offensive. If you can get the balance right with McLean and defensively, then that trio has a little bit of everything: the drive, the energy, the dynamism. And then ahead of them, of course, you've got great focal point in Josh Sargent. We'll probably get onto him a little bit in terms of his future. And now you've got Forson and Sainz. So really exciting 6 ahead of that back 4 if they can retain enough of the ball, and that'll be the key for me today. Because I think Blackburn are a side, the Eustace, who like to try and edge possession. So as always, we always say down in that midfield areas, but if not, can get a degree of control there with those 3 players, then it feels set up to really go and see how good Blackburn are defensively. We can see from the first 2 games they score a lot of goals, but I thought it was interesting Johannes on Thursday while acknowledging that. Also sort of seemed to indicate they felt there was areas they could probe for some vulnerability. I'm sure that'll be defensively today.
Yeah, we'll come on to Josh Sargent in just a moment, but some names on the bench that I think are worth highlighting. Jose Cordova, as we mentioned, on there for the first time. Good to see him there after what's been a little bit of management with injury. I think certainly internally very pleased that they got him over the line ahead of Rangers and some others on the continent as well. Onel Hernandez on the bench as well, Paddy, which feels probably like a reward for his efforts in midweek after not being included in the matchday squad entirely. Probably obviously helped by the fact that Christian Pasnak and Jakob Sørensen are out. But for him, it feels like a reward of sorts.
Sorry, Connor. Yeah, absolutely. And maybe it was needs must. Why we saw Onel Hernandez centre forward. I did ask Johannes after the game here Tuesday night, and it was kind of, we thought we could pace him behind. There was an option there to do something there, and you saw it with that brilliant second goal, starting with Jada Warner, finished by Onel, but arriving with the pace to stretch the Stevenage back 3, back 4. So, yeah, what more can he do? He was omitted this time, or last Saturday morning, purely on a tactical level. That was overshadowed completely, almost, to the point where you didn't really even notice it because of John Rowe. farce. But for Arnell, that would have been hugely disappointing, I'm sure, opening day of the season, and you're not even on the bench, let alone the 11. And you're seeing younger players like Forsyth, Miles, like Kamara make the cut. But he went away, got his opportunity Tuesday, scored 2 goals. Not a lot more he could have done, really, in that role he was have to carry out. And as a result, he's on the bench today. And hat tip to him, hopefully, if he gets an opportunity at some point today, he can carry on where he left off. And, maybe there's more chapters to write in on El Hernandez's Norwich story.
A little bit surprised Abu Kamara hasn't got that right-handed slot.
Well, yeah, I mean, do we assume that's where Forsyth is playing? He's going to start the game.
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
If so, that is a surprise because I thought he was
good.
As good as we've seen him since he came back from Portsmouth on Tuesday night. Scored, obviously, and some of his link-up play was very good as well. He
was heavily involved in that, really. Was it the second goal where Warner to Kamara to McLean?
To Stavey. But also, as well, I mean, I haven't seen enough of Forsyth in that role, but that's where Kamara was operating for Portsmouth. So you think of the 2 young players who's probably ready in terms of their body of work so far in their career to go in and do that role. Torop sees it differently and has gone with Forsyth, if that's where we think he's going to play today, and we assume he is. So, yeah, that is a little bit harsh on Abu Kamara, but maybe it's less about an Abu negative and it's more a positive about Gabe Forsyth.
Yeah, agreed. I'll just run you through the Blackburn team, then we'll come on to obviously some transfer-related stuff. They've got Ainsley Pearce, Callum Britton, Harry Pickering, Don Hyam, Tronstad, Gay, Dolan, Rankin, Costello, Carter, Hedges, and Travis, who was on loan at Ipswich, I think, briefly last season. Their subs, Hilton, McFadden. Oh, here we go, as if by magic. There you go. There's the Blackburn team. Their bench: Hilton, McFadden, Sigurdsson, Vyman. Danny Bart makes the bench, of course, familiar name to Norwich City fans, left the club in the summer. John Buckley, Yuki Ohashi, who's made a bright start to life at Ewood Park, Jack Bale, and Leo Duru as well makes up their bench. Some familiar names. They always come here at Carrow Road and seem to play like prime Barcelona. So goodness knows what they'll look like tonight. 10 goals, obviously, they've scored in their opening 2 games, but they have, of course, lost Sammy Schmodets, who I think is on the bench for a certain team in Suffolk. Is that still 2-0?
He's just come on, actually. Yeah.
He's just come on for Ipswich. They're currently 2-0 down against Liverpool. Josh Sargent, and let's speak a little bit about him. I mean, you asked Johannes the question on Thursday. It's clear there had been MLS interest, and there were some fresh reports yesterday about Cincinnati, wasn't it? And bids and all this type of thing. Yeah. That window is now closed in terms of the MLS window. The European window obviously remains open. There's still that possibility that he could go elsewhere. But it feels today probably a lot more likely that Josh Sargent remains. Not certain by any stretch of the imagination, but it probably feels more likely than perhaps it did 7 days ago.
Yeah, and I thought that was the tone of Torop's answer on Thursday, that we don't need to be reminded. Look at the madness of this window, in terms of Ida and Rowe, and even Gabby Zara to a degree, and then incomings as well. Anything can and often does happen between now and, in this case, August the 30th. Right, it could even be we could be sat recording something on the morning of August 30th, and events drop. Some other clubs need something that they may not have needed at that point, and away you go, and off we go. So never say never, and that was what Torop said. But that was Thursday afternoon we spoke to him. He said, I'm literally up 2 hours ago, I've been on the training pitch with him. He's 100% committed and focused. That was his actual words. Yes, he did admit that he's an ambitious player, and of course he wants to play higher. Why wouldn't he? At his age. That interview he did over the summer, where he said he came to England and Norwich to play in the Premier League. He didn't come to Norwich, with the greatest respect, to play in the Championship. Yeah. So that's understandable. But as of today, there isn't any Premier League interest that is translated into a conversation that needs to be had. So let's hope that continues, because if not, nothing in I see how he carries himself tells me we'd end up in a John Rose situation between now and the end of the window. So if that interest isn't there, then Josh Sargent will be September the 1st onwards Norwich's frontline attacking option. And then, I've seen 1 or 2 questions about, then it becomes about the injury issues that he's had and the fitness. And you can just keep him fit. Absolutely no doubt in my mind, he scored plenty of goals in this side. He scored plenty of goals last season when he was fit, but certainly in a team configured to have the ball, retain possession, create chances, manna from heaven for that man. So get him to the window, keep him here, keep him fit, and then watch him go, and he'll be, for me, right up there in terms of the golden boot, I think. Yeah,
in terms of incomings, I think we know that Norwich wants a striker, and I think in a different world and in a different chain of events, we could be sat here today with Norwich City having had a new striker in the form of Birgot Yilmarin. I think that's the first time I've said it out loud. That obviously the plug was pulled on that Thursday at the medical stage. And we documented there with Sargent with his fitness issues. The fact that there isn't a recognised striker on the bench. You've got Anel Hernandez there who did the job very well on Tuesday night, but not one you'd want as a long-term solution. You've got to feel that's one that they're going to move pretty quickly on.
Yeah, and the plates are spinning already. Yeah, I mean, as we well know, I think at the start of this summer that we just had a little bit of dialogue about Sargent. I think there was a sense maybe internally either could go, Sargent could go. So if that's the case, and we saw it with Forsan coming in very swiftly off the back of Gabby going. Ben Napper recruitment types here at the football club have been doing a lot of, you've heard the phrase, scenario planning, eventualities, something happens outward, they're ready to go inward. No different now.
And it'll be the same with Rowe, won't it?
Of course it will, yeah. So obviously Ida went. That was one of the two that they've done a lot of legwork on because, as I said, to repeat what I just said a minute ago, they've had to factor in potentially Sargent goes as well, in which case they needed 2 strikers this window. So I think what they've basically done is, Yildirim unfortunately isn't going to happen now, but they've pivoted to the other individual who they did a lot of legwork on. I mean, just to give you an idea on Yildirim, that predates Snapper coming in. That was a scouting recruitment file that was passed over from Stuart Webber's time. They've been tracking that player for 2 years, I was told. So you can guarantee whoever they're now targeting, they haven't just picked a name out of thin air. This will have been, again, a very strategic, long-term recruitment file that's been put together with a view to potentially this summer Norwich having to maybe bring that player in. Now, unfortunately, with the events around the Turkish player, they're going to have to pivot. So, go back to what Torop said on Thursday when he clearly knew at that point Yildirim was a dead deal. That they had quite 100% decided which target they want. They do have targets, and he's pretty much promised, didn't he? So I think I can pretty much promise there will be a new striker in before the end of the winter. So we'll put our trust in him. He's not been wrong so far in terms of transfers. So for me, if Sargent stays, then yeah, you of course need to do one, and it'll be interesting now because if we look at Yildirim and the type of profile and prototype of striker there, is that where we're going to go now with this as yet unknown number 2 target?
Right then, today, how do you see it going, Mr. Davitt?
Well, Smodic is a huge loss for them, isn't he? The goals he scored last season, that's not having an impact, even though they probably knew it was in the pipeline. But they've had a great start to the season. I'll be full of confidence. They do seem to play very well, don't they? Irrespective of who's in charge and who's on the pitch. But you just have to think. Off the back of midweek and Torrent's first home league game, a proper full, raucous Carrow Road, first time here for the Danes, that they're able to carry on in that lane, and I'm going to go 2-1 for Norwich.
Oh, same. I was going to go 2-1. Yeah, we're going to be boring and go the same today. And of course, you can follow all Pinkin.com. The Pinkin Plus app is the best place to follow the events. I'll be on a live blog with all the updates and debate as the afternoon goes on. You'll be speaking to Yannis afterwards. Have all the analysis and reaction in the usual place as well. We're very sunny Carrow Road. Enjoy your afternoon, be it here or be it elsewhere, and we'll see you again very soon.